A lot of people are asking me, how is this working? How come this thing is hitting so many issues? How come people are saying dystonia's stopping when I turn it on? Or when I use the tapping technique? How come the tapping technique that the Beech Band is based on is stopping dyskinesia? How come it's the actual device has stopped motor tics? How come someone with chronic PTSD from combat felt calm and the symptoms abated when they turned it on? And other astonishing things actually around that particular example, which I'll report on later. What about speech and its arrested stammering and stuttering and even face masking, which my neurologist noticed actually, and a few other people have said that when they use a tapping technique or the device, that face masking has eased. How can this be? Well, the answer is, I'm not totally sure. All I can tell you is what I suspect. And you'll know that this idea for a device and a tapping technique came to me one evening, eating a double-decker, watching Apocalypse Now. But in the background, I've been processing a lot. And this was way before I'd been given any devices or looked at various options. I had just put together a few thoughts. And the thoughts were, I've been trying to use a stick to walk, to experiment by swinging it out in front of me to guide my leg where it should go when it was dragging. And I was walking along with a mate and I said, do you think it's when I tap the stick or just swing the stick? And we tried both and he said, it's more effective when you tap. And I realised it wasn't the tap on the ground, it was a tap coming through my hand. I'd realised that when I was having a PD-derived anxiety attacks, that if someone I love or trust, or I felt I could trust, touched me, that it worked. Much like you don't stroke a baby, you pat them. There's my friend Shreya pointed out to me and a couple of others. I knew that touch was powerful. I knew that cueing in Parkinson's was a thing. This sounds a bit hippie, but I've been looking at things like vibration and pulse and touch over the last year because I've just got that kind of brain. I was just working stuff through. I'd been reading a whole bunch of stuff. This is tinfoil hat stuff, beachy science kind of vibes. Chatting to my friend Gaynor, who founded Spotlight, about the vagus nerve and parasympathetic nervous system. And one night it all just collided in my head while I was eating a double-decker. And I tapped. And I spoke. I had a really bad stammer. At that point, I was off the meds. And sometimes the meds weren't cutting through. And the strange thing was, it felt comforting. It just felt relaxed. There was something about it that just, I don't know, just felt really comforted. And that night, the idea for the device just dropped in my head to the point where I could almost describe it in detail. I could just visualize it. Probably everyone laughs about this, but undiagnosed, but probably way on the ADHD spectrum. And I think that brings about it some creativity. I mean, like I said, I'm not diagnosed, but for years people have said you really ought to go and get a diagnosis and some help, including my wife. But that's the way I've been all my life, and I just seem to found my own ways to deal with my weird brain. So all of these thoughts came together, but I was able to weirdly get that out of my head, because I think a lot of times people like us, the things get trapped in our head. But I've always been an activist and a doer. A vision for something is just a dream in your head unless you get it out of your head and take a first step. So I contacted my mate Nick. Well, he reached out to me actually, I think, and he built the device, first one, this one, and it worked. Now, cueing in PD is well established, and people use inner headphones and beats and stuff, so I get that. But what about these other things? Well, my theory is this. Partly it's distraction. partly it's a very comforting distraction, and some people have said once they've kept the device on for a while, they forget it's there and the body just tunes into the vibration. So there's something about the low frequency we're using, which does reportedly initiate gait and speech and so on. It's very simple to use. You don't have to get anxious about settings and so on. You just turn it on. And this resonance on your wrist just seems to have a very soothing, helpfully distracting presence. And my gut feel is we are only just at the very start, actually, of understanding how the brain is working with some of these conditions. Like there are things in the body and the mind that are far more complex than just chemicals. There's emotion and the senses and anxiety that comes with these conditions that send you in a spiral. So many people, when I'm talking to them to try and help them manage their symptoms at the moment, they can't take their mind off the symptoms. So like if they're walking, they're fixated on the problem with their gait or speaking, and it's so frustrating, you can't get your words out. Like I experienced, I've had tears in my eyes trying to speak. It just perpetuates the problem. You go into this spiral. And I think we don't fully understand the connection between mind, emotion, and clinical problems. Like for me, the ongoing progressive death of my dopamine neurons. And so there's something about this which just tunes into something else. Now, I've been sent articles back from 1940 about tapping techniques. And I'm reading a lot at the moment about the power of touch. And so I just think the Beech Band combines a lot of these things. And we are not going to make claims ourselves. We are just saying, hey, this is what people are saying. I was just trying to overcome stammer and the problems with my walking. But we seem to have stumbled into something that unlocks us in a really remarkable way. And I'm not saying this will help everyone and every condition in every single person. That would be bonkers and really unethical. What I am saying is that so far everyone we tried it on for different things has found it beneficial, and it's been overwhelming, I think the science will catch up. I don't think it's there yet. And there's a lot of material out there about these things. I hadn't read any of that when I stumbled onto it. Not the stuff around emotional freedom techniques and stuff like that. That's all been sent to me latterly. And none of it kind of puts this stuff together that we're doing here. So I don't have the science, but I have a theory. But more than that, it's just helping. And we think this is a wellness and calming device with some other benefits. Could make an extraordinary difference to people. And even if it just gives 10 minutes respite when you're really struggling, well, that's enough. And so, although I think there's more than that. And then the thought was, let's just get them into the hands of everybody. Let's just get out there, and then we'll run with the other stuff in parallel, getting the peer reviews and the research done, because I think that's going to take years. In the meantime, we're just going to plough ahead and do what we need to do this appropriately and do it right. But get these cheap, low-cost, resonating wristbands into people's hands and onto their wrists as cheaply as possible. So we're working out as we go along.